Well, hello, and welcome to Weekly Wedding Prep Live. It is another Thursday, and we are here live. And you, if you're watching in the chat, you are here live as well. And you are really obligated to say hello in the chat. I absolutely love engaging with each of you, seeing who's here. And as we say every week, without belaboring the point, because so many of you you're old hats at this, you know how the drill works. But I am here to help you with your wedding prep, and we are here every week live. See what we did there? Weekly Wedding Prep Live. And so this is a chance for you to pop into the chat, say what's going on, say what is if you got a wedding coming up, if you got one that you just did, you're wondering about something in the future, you're wondering about something that happened in the past, etc., etc. That is what we are here for, to shoot the breeze and talk about all things weddings. This is for wedding officiants and celebrants. If you're stumbling through the door here and wondering what this is about, we love hearing from other vendors, though. So feel free, please, to say hello. Tell us your profession in the wedding industry and what you're thinking, what your challenges are, what your wins are. I am seeing some amazing wins already. Was so thrilled to see. Well, I got to say, Cantor Mark was here first, and it's really cool to see him popping in and dropping in to let me just check in here because I have to switch back over. He was so early. He's at Miami-Dade Airport on the tarmac, ready to take off for, I wish I had rehearsed this, Tegucigalpa. if you're is that, I know Mark's on his way to Honduras. He gave us the heads up, right? It's currently 70 degrees there. We'll be in a shuttle to my hotel from the airport, earbuds in, hanging on every word. If you're hearing us, Mark, at the airport, on the shuttle, etc., hello and welcome, and we're glad you could join us, even on the road as you are, because Mark is officiating a wedding this Saturday. He says, this is wedding officiant life, friends. We go to where the weddings are. Some of us, like me, try to keep that within 20 minutes of our house, and others will travel 5,000 miles, as the song goes, to officiate. And that is just awesome. So welcome, Mark. You tagged the wall first. And then Sarah wonderfully said, I received a beautiful review that included the love of couples love story, your couple's love story. And you're thanking me. So Sarah is a member of Unboring Wedding Academy, where I guarantee that you will get that kind of review. You don't have to use ChatGPT, and you don't have to stumble around and figure it out. And you don't have to collate a bunch of scripts you found all over the internet. You learn the style, you learn the system, you use efficiently, you're going to get that kind of review. And I love that for you, Sarah. So thank you for thanking me, etc. John is here as well and said, howdy, fellow officiants from cloudy and balmy Massachusetts. It is cloudy and balmy. Interesting. It's interesting that you consider that balmy, but I know you're a Massachusettsian. That's probably wrong. And you're saying that facetiously. We have the same thing here today. In fact, it is getting warm, but today was about whatever, the low 30 Fahrenheit. You know, my struggle. I'm not getting any better all these years going live. The low 30s, high 20s maybe. And here's what was really annoying is it was getting colder throughout the morning. So I always wake up at 5:30, do a bit of work till about 7. And then typically, you know, kids off to school and stuff. But we're in the middle of March break here. So I got right out there for my morning 5K run. And I was looking at the forecast. It's getting colder throughout the morning until like 11 a.m., which just defies logic. That's not supposed to happen. I have decided that it's not supposed to get colder throughout the day. Sun comes up, it should be getting warmer. Anyway, we are kind of breaking the grip of winter here. Soon I'll be able to shave off my my winter coat. I see videos of myself with a much shorter beard, and I know that is that's a different season. I am going to bring a few things, perhaps, that I have received questions about throughout the last couple of weeks, whether it's on YouTube or direct emails or things like that. I love that you prepare me for Weekly Wedding Prep Live. You say, Mark, can you talk about this? Mark, what about that? Mark, I'm wondering about this. So that's absolutely what I'm here for. But my priority is when I get questions here in the chat for those of you who showed up live. So please hit me with anything you got coming up. Like I said, we're here to prep you, whether it's scripting, whether it's logistics, whether it's the pro side, whether it's your first time. So I'm always interested in hearing, because so many folks here, I think everybody who I just said hello to is a member of Unboring Wedding Academy. We do have live Zoom office hours every month, but folks just can't get enough of each other here, which I absolutely love. I've said it before. I know you're here mostly for each other, and so that's absolutely fantastic. But if it's your first time here at a live, or you're not a member, or maybe you've been a long time watcher and you've never ventured into the chat, feel free to say hello. Let us know if you got a ceremony coming up. What's your situation? Who are you officiating for? Because we are here for you. Jerry is here, says good morning. Aiming to be a beautiful day here in the Pacific Northwest. Sunny with temps to be in the 60s. We are longing for that kind of weather here. Hey, good to see you. You're in the final stages of completing the love story. I believe it's James, right? J. Nelson Media. And you're in the final stage of completing the love story for your first officiating gig on April 26th. I know you're a member, so good to see you. Your grandson's wedding. You were caught in transition between old and new versions of the love story caster. Yeah, the old version is not where it's at, folks. So I would just say, like, it's still there as a resource for you, but I do want to share with you, I don't know how many Redditors we have on here, but a post in Reddit specifically about wedding officiants and AI. Stay tuned for that. So I'm not sure what you have in store for me today in terms of questions or things like that, but I have got something to, I think, just like a little cautionary tale for you, for all of us officiants. When I read it, I got a bit of a cold chill, and that's why I wanted to share it with you. Wanted to hop in and say hi, Sabrina, to everyone, and report my local weather. 81 degrees with a high of 88 and a bit of rain. Enjoy your day, toodles. Okay, it sounds like Sabrina had to bounce. She is typically here, San Antonio, Texas, in the house, but she has other things to do today. Jack, nice to see you. 39 in Michigan. Probably similar to here. And Sherry's here and says, yay, I made it live. Well, we're so thrilled you're here, Sherry. That's awesome. Thank you for being here. Josephine from Schenectady, New York. I'm getting better, aren't I? Now that you're popping in the chat and making me say that every week, I absolutely love that you're here. And welcome and happy baking. Anita is here. Made it to a live. There's lots of like, whew, I made it. I made it. And I'm so glad that I'm here consistently every week, so some of you can plan your months around making it to one live. Thrilled you're here. I know a lot of you watch the replays, and again, if you're watching this on YouTube right now live, but you can also go to the live tab and see any and all of the replays. They're there just forever for you to watch and learn from, once again, from each other. Good morning from Vancouver Island. Good to see you. And thrilled you're here. Hello from Ottawa, Terry. Sunny, balmy -1. Another facetious balmy. Sherry says she keeps it within an hour of her house. The wedding distances, yeah. And I mean, I technically, I guess, I mean, I live in St. Stephen, New Brunswick, so St. Andrews is where most of my weddings will be. I'll venture slightly farther than that, maybe half an hour, 40 minutes tops, to catch some of the rural, beautiful wedding venues that are out in the countryside there. But then I start charging for like the St. John, that's like an hour away. I actually charge travel. I charge $9.99 for any weddings within, like I say, that half-hour catchment area, and then $12.99 for the St. John and for Fredericton. Those are like an hour plus drives. And I build in my rehearsals, right? That is a big thing that I believe in terms of the pricing. I don't want to a la carte those. I don't want a couple to look at that like a menu and be like, like adding sour cream at Taco Bell. It's an extra, $3. I don't want couples to think like, should I add the rehearsal or not? Is it worth it? I don't think it's worth it. We don't need that, right? I just tell couples in our chem check, that's the session you have before I do any booking with any couple. I meet them for a chem check. I always say I want to have a rehearsal. Like I build it in because I think it's so important. We're not rehearsing so that we get things perfect. That's one thing when you're kind of selling the rehearsal. The word rehearsal conjures up ideas of like, all right, everybody, hit your mark, back to zero. It's not like that. It's so that on the wedding day you can be focused on what matters, and that is experiencing the joy of the moment and each other and the overwhelming emotions. Not is this where I stand? Is this where I walk? Am I standing weird? Am I walking weird? Right. So doing that all the way through once, twice. I have a whole thing about how to structure the rehearsal. You talk it through, then you walk it through, then you walk it through again. The third time is a charm. It's at the wedding, and so I build that into the price. So that is I keep it within half an hour of my house, and then beyond that, I just have like a charge. That's the only pricing difference that I do is by location. I don't add services. Although, like I said, I have a kind of off menu signing service. If somebody reaches out to me and says, Mark, we just want to sign some marriage papers, I charge 150. And but that's not something I advertise. Maybe I should, because I just did one recently, and it was really wonderful. Anytime you join people in matrimony, even signing papers, it really is like a wonderful spiritual, emotional thing. I just love being with those people, even for that. Purely Wed by Sabrina here. Good to see you. Happy for warm weather. Ready to officiate weddings near beaches and waterfalls. That sounds absolutely awesome. I'm ready for that too. Dimples says, how is everyone? Good to see you. Nancy Hicks from Olympia, Washington. And hello from Sunderland, Ontario, Francis Stevens. Well, that's really cool. Good to see you, I'm a former Ontarian. Sherry says, I'm Sherry from the Maine Knot Marriage Officiant, and my next wedding is mid-May, so I'm currently working on a new script. That's great. So you're revamping your script, and I just want to remind you, if you have Officiantly, you can go in and build a new template right there. And if you're wondering how Officiantly works, go to my website, go to videos. All 10 tutorial videos for Officiantly are there. And if you have Officiantly with Unboring Wedding Academy, you can try how it works with one ceremony. But then when you get the unlimited, and you can check out how to do that at officiant.ly, you can go into templates and write as many templates as you want. So again, this is an example of if you had kind of your typical ceremony, but you wanted to refresh it, you go in there, you change your template, and then that's what loads in automatically with the couple's information every time you create a ceremony. So yeah, good. You're doing a little spring cleaning, Sherry. That's awesome. You're going to be you're saying I'm going to be officiating 5. This is amazing. I really wanted to actually bring this up, Cecilia, because first of all, I love your journey. Like I remember when you contacted me and said, I'm on Vancouver Island. Should I take your course? What's going on? I want to be kind of the go-to officiant here. And then you drop this. You say, I'm going to be officiating 5 ceremonies at a pop-up wedding event for the Pride Festival in Victoria in July. I've married many couples in the LGBT plus community, but never at an event like this with drag queen witnesses and all the craziness of Pride. I'll be chatting with each couple beforehand to get their story elements for the ceremony, for the personalization. So that's amazing to me. Like right there, I was like, we've talked about this before. Kind of, I think for Valentine's Day, we talked about kind of going through like a conveyor belt of couples. These micro weddings, or these pop-up weddings, really, they're called, where you're the officiant on site. You can line up. Sometimes it's, couples sign up ahead of time, so you get their names, you get their scripts, that kind of thing. But it's pretty standard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You go through all of them and just swap out the names. And I did say for me, I would be printing out every script with each couple's names, because I could see by wedding 4, 5, 6, you're mixing up names. You're like, where am I? What day is it? And I would want to have every script with every couple's names in it all throughout. But you're talking about something similar here, but you said you want to get their story elements as well, not just the ceremony elements. So it's really cool. So I was surprised by that. Like this is really something, Cecilia. And then how do I add? And frankly, I wanted to prep for this. Like this caught me flat-footed. You did email me, Cecilia, in response to my heads up that I'm going live today. Anybody got any questions? But you said, well, with this question. So here's the question. How do I add flamboyant bits into the ceremony? I feel confident I can create a lighthearted and funny ceremony that still gets the seriousness of the proceedings across. So like I said, this caught me kind of flat-footed because I would love to do an event like you're doing, but I think I would consider myself to be, and this is a matter of style, right? Like, so your question is, how do I add flamboyant bits to the ceremony? Like, I personally wouldn't do that. So, just because of me, because I would be loving the participation aspect, what's going on around. I think there'd be loads of laughter. I think I would be participating in terms of like making comments in the moment that's super down to earth. Like I say, light and airy feel to these ceremonies. It looks like these couples want this kind of, as you said, like outrageous elements, that kind of thing. But in terms of like leading them through the proceedings, man, I'm not sure how to do that. So I was, I'm glad you were showing up here in the chat because I feel like my answers would be disappointing. So anybody want to help Cecilia? Because like I said, my approach wouldn't be to kind of match that, and it wouldn't be to match. I would match the energy, but I just don't feel like I would try to add flamboyancy to the ceremony because I would want the ceremony to really resemble, um the solemn is the right word, but is the wrong word, but like the seriousness, the weightiness of the moment. And I don't think you're talking really long ceremonies here, right? It sounds like you might be talking 10 minutes, although I'm not really sure. It sounds like you got lots of time to prepare, like 5 in 1 day in July during Pride. That is amazing. Just kudos to you. And it's one of those rare times where I think, because your question is so specific, how do I add like flamboyancy? I was just like, oh, that it's like for me, I've been asked, would you do a dress up ceremony? And I know many of you have done like costume ceremonies. That's what I mean by dress up. I don't mean wearing a suit. I mean like a Star Wars theme, or show up as Chewbacca or Indiana Jones or something. I honestly don't feel like that's my cup of tea. So I can answer a lot of questions, but when we get really thematic like this, I find myself a little bit at a loss because I don't know if I would do. And I think of just people with very different styles. I don't want to name anybody, but there's officiants that I meet at Wedding MBA who are like, okay, I don't officiate that way. We all have our own particular style, and I have some of it is just comfort level. But I've talked about how, for example, I don't like as an officiant to draw attention to myself. For some reason, I just really resist that. I find it repellent in the sense of like, because I'm standing there looking a certain way with a certain kind of personality, if I really ramp that up, I find like I'm unfairly sucking the energy out of the room, away from the marriers, away from the groom, say, which I just don't want. I would, if I'm getting married, I don't want the officiant to overshadow me and feel like they're the be all and end all. And Cecilia, I'm not suggesting you're doing this at all, by the way. I really love your approach to this. It's because it's so outside of my wheelhouse or something that I would do. Let's hope people in the chat are helping you out. And I'm going to scroll down and see what people might recommend, because I know a lot of people here have done that kind of thing and know exactly what you're talking about, and say, well, here's what I would do, here's what I have done. And I find that really that's another reason why we're here. I'm just so excited for you that you are doing that event. Nancy says, I've noticed more officiants offer telling the couple's love story as part of the ceremony. How does the Unboring format differentiate us from others? Well, for one, I mean, that's a great question. And I mean, I knew this going into 2017. And I've said, like when I started Unboring Wedding, we are on a mission here. We are revolutionizing weddings. We are raising the expectation. I've always said, I really want us to get to a point, at least here in North America, where people go into a wedding not rolling their eyes and already looking for it to be over. Can you imagine? You know that feeling when people are filing into a theater, whether it's live theater or a movie? There's like an excitement. There's like a buzz. This is going to be really good. You go into a TED Talk or something. You don't think like, oh my gosh, let's get the speeches over. It's like, no, you're here to actually for that part. You're not just trying to get to the post TED cocktail hour. So this is similar, where I'm really excited about the revolution of weddings, that we are in a place now where I think we can start. Maybe it's starting, Nancy, from what you're suggesting. So I don't think it's run of the mill, like, oh gosh, another officiant telling a love story, eye roll. It's like, no, because that is the centerpiece of every couple, right? So kudos to all of us, fist bump, virtual fist bump, because we are really making this happen together. Now, what differentiates us, I think, is the 3-act love story. Like I said, when I started working with a company, Young, Hip, and Married, really early on, they showed me weddings can be fun, which surprised me. So that was my first like frying pan upside the head moment. Like, wait, what? I've always, as a minister, I didn't really want to do weddings. I found them really boring. Every wedding I'd been to, it was like, oh my gosh, when is this over? But then when I caught wind of how it's fun, then I started to distill it. Like I didn't get a system per se. They just kind of said, well, make it personal. Asked a couple of huge long questionnaire and stuff. I boiled it down to the 3-act love story. And so to me, if you're specifically saying how does the unboring format differentiate us from others, it is that. I've talked about this at Wedding MBA. I've talked about this on my course. I'm blue in the face about it. I mean, way back to ancient storytelling, like the 3-act story, where you have the introduction of the characters, and then you have a crescendo of, conflict or tension, and then you have the resolution. That is, they meet each other for the first time. There's thoughts. You're setting it up. There's so much. There's tension all throughout, as opposed to if you just go to the kind of ceremony where somebody is like just saying a bunch of things. And I've been on here before a couple of weeks ago. I talked about, I was reading about a couple who said our officiant was amazing. They interviewed us and took us out to the bar, interviewed us, had pages and pages and pages of notes, and then they worked for 3 months on it. It's like, that sounds fantastic. But how many of us are willing to do that, could do that? And if you're a professional, there's no way you could do that. Ultimately, this 3-act love story process, that when I pitch this to couples and I tell them, I'm only going to ask you 3 questions. It's a perfect story arc. It's a narrative how you met, right to one of you said yes, and here we are today, and the crowd erupts. That is really, it's a style and it's a system, but it's also a story, like a real story, not just some missives, not just some anecdotes, which is what I'm hearing and seeing a lot of. The love story. Well, like I've said this for vow renewals, like if a couple says, I'd like to do a vow renewal, and they've been together 40 years, like my wife and I have just celebrated our 20-year anniversary. Like, what stories would you tell? Well, really, I when I do vow renewals, I just go right back to the beginning and do the same thing, because you want that 3-story arc and that 3-act story arc, and it's built right into how they met, first date, where it's like all the tension is building, and again, they're getting married, so it's not like how is this going to turn out. It's more like a movie flashback. And then the proposal, which is also full of hijinks and tension, and then bang, once this tension of any story is over and you're building that tension to the point of she really wants to propose and she's trying to get her over here, but she's messing it up all along the way, that kind of thing, there's this really delightful tension. It's almost like a sitcom. But when it's over, the story is over. And to go on and tell more would really, it would kind of flatline the emotional aspect of it. So, I'm so glad that stories are becoming more ubiquitous. I'm so glad that we're raising the bar for wedding ceremonies. But this style and this system, I argue, is absolutely untouchable, because it would be like, oh, all movies have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's boring. It's like, no. When a movie doesn't have that, you're like, something was really off about that, right? They have to follow. I've studied screenwriting. They have to follow a convention of sorts, but there's so much you can do within that, right? And that's what I'm seeing with couples, especially when it comes to the unboring format. So you asked, thank you. You primed my pump a little bit and gave me the opportunity to glaze the unboring style and system specifically, as I think that's what the kids are saying nowadays. and And I really believe that. That's why it just keeps working and working for me. And I still have couples. I've told you this story. Reach out to me. I just had one that said, we were at a wedding you officiated 5 years ago. Well, now we're getting married. We never forgot it. We want you to be our officiant because of what we saw for that other couple. They knew that they could only find that experience with me because of the Unboring wedding style and system. So Mark is up in the air. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. You're on your way. So welcome to sit back, relax, and enjoy your flight entertainment. Good to see you. The magic of Wi-Fi while you fly. Good to see you, Mark. Arkansas in the house, cloudy and 79. Good to see you, Charlene. And let me see, I'm scrolling down here. Laura's here, Humble, Texas. Turned my air con on. Oh my gosh, you turned your air. You had to say that, eh? I'm just looking forward to when I can turn my heat off because it costs a fortune here in New Brunswick. So then we'll have like 3-4 months of not needing any energy consumption for heating or cooling. And then in August, we turn it on for like maybe a couple of weeks. Sherry, I agree with you. I insist on rehearsals unless they're really small elopement. Even then, I'm willing. Yeah, that's great. Janet, Ozark ceremonies, serving Arkansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. Amazing. Good to see you. I don't think you want me to say I'm watching Ozark right now. You probably get tired of that, right? Great TV show. Eva's here. Hello. Freezing at home. No light, heat, or home internet. Here to hang out with you guys and learn. What happened? The power went out in, oh my gosh. Hopefully you're doing well. It's great. You must be on your phone. Sherry says, I think just being yourself. So that really is the heart of it, Sherry. I know if I were dressing up as Han Solo or something like that, obviously I've got a certain, like, I just said Indiana. I'm diagnosing myself from a Freudian. I said Indiana Jones. I said Han Solo. Obviously, there's a certain kind of costume. I did say dressing as Chewbacca or something, but what if, a Smurf? Let me go a little more esoteric. I don't know that it would work for me. This is really the heart of it because I know who I am, and I know I would bring a lot of fun, a lot of joy, some fun quips, really radiating love back onto my couple, just the way I am. And I probably would depend a little bit more on being in the moment, which I can do in a room. I just observe something, and I've told you about this. I just observe something and I comment on it. This is how I have built wedding reception. Like as an MC for a wedding reception, I prepare all the parts. Like I write everything down, how I'm introducing speakers and things. But my opening couple of minutes, think like, when the presenters open up at the Oscars, like the best ones that you see are actually commenting on gowns and something that happened on the red carpet and something about the room. It's very immediate. And so I always say when you're emceeing a wedding reception, be as prepared as you can when it comes to the flow, the format, introducing speakers, all that kind of thing. But and when you're introducing the wedding party coming in, if you're doing that introduction, sometimes the DJ does, but save some room off the top for some very specific. I've made jokes about the ceremony, which I just officiated. I've made jokes about something that the best man did or said or something that happened between. I like to say, who's excited to eat the chicken? Who's excited to eat the salmon? Where are my chickpea people at? Like I look at the menu of what is being served and kind of make comments on how excited are we for the spinach, something like that. And just using immediate everything, something everyone can relate to, it really adds that extra level. So I think, it was a tangent to say, I think I would depend more on that than writing kind of prepared flamboyance into the script because of what Sherry is saying. So here, being yourself, like that is how I would be. And it's hard to make that really personal to every couple. And then also I wouldn't want it to seem contrived either. So I think, Cecilia, like the fact that you're willing to do this, you seem really awesome. Sherry's got great advice here. where you just kind of say, I'm me, I'm going to go with it, I'm going to make jokes. And just when you really love on that couple, when you clearly love them, which is what I really try to do with every couple, almost like pastorally and spiritually, it's so fun. You can joke with them. Of course, when you tell their love story, that's why the reviews say, we didn't know Mark was your friend. That's what most guests tell most of my couples. We never even met your friend Mark, and he's not a friend. He's just a hired gun. So that's what you can bring, just being yourself. Claudia's in the Unboring house. Good to see you. I'm thrilled you're here. I feel like it's been a couple weeks. Sherry says, I have a medieval wedding coming later this year. I'm excited for that one. As far as so are you dressing up as a fair lady or a knight or something, Sherry? As far as the 5-day and wedding, if it were me, I'd do my best to really give the couple a chance to shine. Yeah. Sherry says, if I could add to your comments about the Unboring format is different, your training opens up to really include our own personalities. That makes all the difference. I'm thrilled to hear that, because this is like a theme. And yeah, I always say, like, you always want every single thing to be about your couple. And at the same time, remember, your couple chose you because of who you are. So those two things working together, I've used that mirror analogy, right? All the attention you're getting in the room immediately reflected back on your couple, but you're not some empty vessel up there. You do what is like who you are. Show up as yourself, for sure. And some people say, well, I'm not really loud and boisterous and gregarious. So how can I do opening remarks? You don't have to be loud and boisterous and gregarious. You go up there and you say, good afternoon. All right, let's try that again. This is a celebration. Good afternoon. And people are going to be shouting. You say, are you ready for Sam and Alex to get married? You can be as quiet, and it works for everybody, no matter what your personality. So I do teach a strategy in that sense of, like, these are the 5 moments you engage the guests. This is how you tell the story. You're talking to the guests the whole time, not the couple during the speech, except right at the end when you say you're here to give yourselves to each other. So there's like a strategy that I've honed for years and years. But the rest, like you being the person who's embodying that is all uniquely you. So really well said, Sherry. Perhaps leave any flamboyant bits of the couples to add to the ceremony. Ask what they'd like to include. Yeah, I always like to, this is kind of a common thing. That's like a typical Unboring play, is to say, hey, if you want anything, like, what do you want to add, right? And most of the times couples will just say, we don't really, just do your thing. I think you'll hear that really well. From Georgia, preparing for wedding number 4. Good to see you, James. Thank you for joining. Small wedding, second marriage for both bride and groom. Any certain advice for second marriage? It's funny. I think we had a big conversation about this a couple weeks ago, so I'm trying to recall what I said there quite at length. I think there was concern in our question about, there was like a widow and again, it was a second marriage. And I've often said, like, I think I said there, but just in other terms of this advice, couples typically don't want to hear jokes about their previous marriage or any references to their previous spouses. So in that case, if that's like negative, then, and I've done many weddings for second marriages, nothing changes. The same way with the with vow renewals. Like, I would say, what changed with vow renewals is obviously you're not saying for the first time, right? You're changing some of your language there. I introduced to you for the first time. I introduced to you once again with renewed vows, Mr. and Mrs. blah, blah. So you change those little things. But for second marriages, I don't think a single thing changes. And I say that as someone who has done them. The only difference is there might be more kids to involve, maybe a blended family situation. A lot of second marriages, the kids are older, so they're just part of the wedding party. But when you're doing blended family ceremonies, that's really beautiful. Sometimes I suggest, when I know this, if it's younger kids, that during the vows, they vow to each other's children, not to replace their existing father, but to be as a father for them as much as they would like. But I'm vowing to your mother, but I'm vowing to you as much to be part of your family, to take care of all of you and love you as my own, that kind of thing. Those are some of the most heightened, emotionally beautiful parts of any wedding ceremonies I ever officiate, is blended family stuff. So that's the only thing that I can think of when it comes to second marriage is the kid equation. Other than that, nobody wants to hear about former spouses or divorce, or like, you should have seen her first wedding dress or something like that. No, don't do that. Sometimes there are sensitivities around, and I will be honest about this, how the couple met. So I just talked to you about that three act love story arc, how they met, first date, proposal. Sometimes it gets a little messy here, where they met when they were previously married, or they went on a first date when they were not quite extricated from the other relationship, or that kind of thing, and it's dicey and complicated. I'm watching Glee with my whole family right now. I know, 2009, way back. But you got Mr. Shu and Emma, and it's complicated. Right? I think about, this is just coming to mind, because you'd think, like, if you were telling the love story of Mr. Shu and Emma, if you don't watch Glee, then this is just bear with me. He's in a marriage that's essentially falling apart, the way they wrote it, with his quite mentally ill wife in some ways. And she obviously is infatuated with him, and that might be a case like at their wedding. Spoiler, I'm just in season 1 though. I assume they're going to get married. How they met, it might require a little bit more massaging, right? First date, what was the first date? Well, a lot of times in this sensitive case, a couple will choose, like, not the first date, and you don't have to say, but you can just roll into, like, when they're both kind of in the clear and they go out together or go away for that first weekend or something like that, you can really talk about how that's how they knew, that they were the one for each other. So that's the only other thing to consider. Like I say, it won't change, what to say in terms of elements or things like that. But it might require, they might say, like, listen, we met, let's not go into too much detail about the timeline of when we met, because things were a bit difficult at the time. So you might need to just be considerate of that. I always ask them when I ask these questions, because if you use Officiantly, for example, the system is going to send them that question. How did you meet? Tell me about the first date and tell me about the proposal. Well, they can, and I give them a heads up. Like, they still thought something about each other when they saw each other. You don't need to deny that. And you don't need to say they were both married at the time, but they saw each other and bang. Wow, it was amazing. Like, you can just say what they thought about each other. It's the same approach for meeting online. A lot of couples say, we don't want to say we met online. Well, then you say the same thing. When he saw her, he thought, here's somebody who's incredible. Here's somebody who has my interests. Now, it's all through a screen, a profile, but you don't need to say that, right? It's just what you omit. Actually, nobody is going to scrutinize that. It's actually what you're saying that leads the story. I say this in my course. You are the authoritative narrator. You are telling the story. So just tell it in a way that steers wide, gives a wide berth to those areas that maybe they don't want to touch. So there you go. It ends up, I did have a little bit to say about that. Thanks for your question. But like I say, when you build the ceremony with them and tell their story, I don't think you'll have anything too specific to worry about in that regard. Cecilia says, thanks for the comments, your reaction. The points y'all make are reassuring. I think I'll embrace the impromptu commentary, leave it to the couple in Queens to do the rest. Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong. I don't think, Cecilia, you're going to be like a drip if you don't, like, enter into it or try to compete with it. I really think, like, there is an expectation with wedding officiants that there is like a decorum, right? You're like the representative of the law there. And so, you don't need to go too crazy at all by any means. So that is just something that I think you will do really, really well. Paul's in the house from Connecticut. Good to see you. I don't know if I'll be dressing up, maybe a sage. Yeah, there you go. That's awesome. You'll be ironing that out in our workshop, literally ironing your cloak, maybe. James, there are kids involved with mixed feelings. Okay. And I wonder about the ages. That can happen too, where the kids aren't the most enthusiastic. So that is where, I'm glad you kind of followed up here. That is where I would, in the wedding workshop with them, I would ask them about, do you want to do any blended family stuff? And that's where, inefficiently, when you purchase my course and you use Officiantly, that's one of the questions. Like, are there anything you want to say in terms of, like, are there any special rituals here, like blended family, something with the kids? And that's a lot of time is where somebody in the couple will say, yeah, and you can recommend, say, like, maybe you want to have them each give something. I've talked about that before, like a necklace or a keepsake of some sort that that will be special to the kids. The same way, like when you're going to exchange vows with each other, maybe you want to exchange words of commitment as opposed to vows, committing to the family, committing to respecting their feelings, being that person in their life that they can always turn to, that kind of thing. You always want to advise them, like, kids typically don't want a replacement parent. They have loyalty to their existing biological parent. And that's sometimes where they're like, I don't know about you, comes from. And so in the ceremony, to say something like that, to take a moment, even if it's not done with a lot of pomp and circumstance, just say, as the officiant, Kevin, before, and you would say to everyone, like, before Kevin says his vows to Tiffany, he would like to address Tiffany's children, or something like that. And you just let them have the floor. That's something that I do see a lot. And like I say, it's really incredible when it does happen. Christina's here. Good to see you, Christina Dennis. You are a member of Unboring Wedding Academy. I gave you a shout out last night. I officiated my niece's wedding. She and her hubby met on Tinder. We did not tell that story to 130 guests, okay? She and her husband met on Tinder. Well, I mean, there are many couples who have met on Tinder, and they did not have, it's not, they did not necessarily have specific goals in mind when they join Tinder, one way or another. But the stigma is disappearing. I know it used to be that if you met on Tinder, you were only looking for one thing, and then, oops, now you're getting married, which I have said, like, half my couples met on Tinder. So good job, Tinder. You're doing God's work, so to speak. But yeah, when couples don't want that told, you can absolutely tell your couple, don't say it was on a screen, but tell me what they thought about each other. And this is an example of, like, when a couple goes in and puts their answers, inefficiently, for example. And I think I want to just take this moment to show you what I'm talking about, because I've talked about this when I've demoed efficiently here. When you go, I'll just zoom back out here. This is a sample ceremony that I used for the tutorial, Casey and Jordan. You got the workshop, the ceremony draft, the questionnaire, responses. So this is how you just move through the ceremony from left to right, top to bottom. But when you get to the love story caster, if you've got a couple who answered their questions, and the system just automatically puts them here where they need to be. Act 1, how they met. Act 2, first date. Act 3, proposal. If they happen to say in here, like, see, look at this couple. We met online when Jordan was over in Vancouver with her family for a funeral. That's why it was really funny to say this love story begins the way all the great love stories begin, with a funeral. The love story caster actually has that recipe built in. I told it, when you enter in your couple's information here and click generate story, it will look for, this love story begins the way all the great romances begin. And I commanded it, look for some location in the story that's actually kind of funny. And so it says here, the way all great romances begin, with a funeral. Made me think of the movie 4 Weddings and a Funeral. But back to what I was saying, if you have a couple that says, we don't want, we met online, then you might want to, maybe they put it in there, but they don't want that. You can delete it there. And you can see here, Jordan was in Vancouver. We kicked off chatting. So that's an example of, like, if you took away we met online, they're chatting somewhere. You don't need to know where, didn't even live in the same province, etc. That didn't stop us. And then if you go over to Jordan's version here, Casey and I met online. So you can just say, you can literally delete, I was visiting New Brunswick for a funeral. Boom, boom. Her profile made me laugh. How about she made me laugh? Right? This is where you would just shave those bits off. That's why we made it editable here in Efficiently. And then when you cast the story, the love story caster won't know that they met online. Now, you can choose to generate the story and then edit it after the fact, right? If we go here, I have only generated the final story here, so we're not in the storyboard mode here. But here you can see, because it's modern, this love story begins the way all the great romance begin, with a funeral. Because modern life, it begins online. There's a screen, a profile, a line that makes you would just delete all that. So actually, not with the funeral, you'd leave, but you could say his opening line when he meets her is spending the next year dead for tax reasons or something like that, or he says something hilarious. Now, obviously, they wanted to emphasize that it was really part of their story, but you will not need to worry about that because it's all editable. I'm just undoing here because I don't want that. I don't want that to change the story for good. So that's just an example of respecting the couple's wishes, but also being able to use the love story caster at the same time. You can edit it before it casts, or you can edit it after. Sherry says, one of my couples this year met because they found out their significant others were cheating with another on them. Though through that experience, they fell in love. I'll be asking how much of that they want told. Wow, yes. Thank goodness for discretion and discernment among the wedding officiant community. We really do amazing work. It feels like very ministerial and pastoral. Like I said, you really want to love on your couples, and you don't want to run afoul of their expectations. And I feel like these are the awful moments on, when you go viral for the wrong reasons, when you don't consider this kind of thing, which I do talk about in the course. Like, make sure that when you send the questionnaire too, and it says, when it's sent out, like, don't tell me things that everybody should need to know. Like, don't say things you don't want told in the story. I consider everything to be kind of a green light if you put it in there. But like I say, maybe they told you in the wedding workshop they don't want certain things and you remember that. But typically whatever they tell you is a green light. So the fact that you know that already is really interesting. It's like, some ways I don't want to know. Just don't tell me things you don't want me to say, because you can't make things up about them. But Sherry, it sounds like you're ready there for that potentially sensitive topic. All right. Any other questions? It's incredible that we have gone about 50 minutes here. As I said, I did want to, let me just hit you with this if I don't have any other questions right now. I wanted to read to you something that I read on Reddit. It's in wedding planning, and I'll just pull it up on the screen here. I should have been able to do that, and it didn't like it. Wedding in 3 days, an officiant used AI for our ceremony script. Now, again, are you already in a cold sweat? Mostly just posting the vent here. This is a bride. Also, as a caution to others, we hired an officiant. So this is really interesting. We hired an officiant with great reviews. And so this is like a professional. And even though her communication was pretty impersonal, mostly sent by an automated system, and that's interesting too. I would not send automated emails out when I'm booking a couple. Just personally, I've always talked, get back to them as quickly as possible, be as personable as possible. Hey, this didn't stop them from booking them. So, hey, maybe I'm saying all this for nothing, but I really like when they tell me their venue, and then I can comment on their venue, specifically somebody who works at the venue. Like, when you use these platforms that I've talked about, whether it's Rock, Paper, Coin or 17 Hats or Dubsado or that kind of thing, if you're doing your intake, like, they can tell, right? Couples can tell. It saves you time. But to me, if I want to land a couple, if I want to work with a couple, I'm going to be as personalized as I can in those initial emails. Yes, I have a template, but I will go in and I will say, oh my gosh, you're getting married at the Algonquin. Kate's a dream. I'm so excited for you. That's my favorite venue, or that kind of thing. We had a good impression of her after the meeting, so we decided to hire. Back to what the Reddit post here. She said she'd have our ceremony script a month ahead of time. So right away, a couple of things there. Like, she's not likely an unboring wedding officiant here, because this is interesting. Where I don't see like a wedding workshop, because I realized we'd never gotten the script and we were a week out. So I followed up. So maybe they did have something like a wedding workshop. Maybe this is an unboring wedding officiant. I don't know. I followed up. Instead of a direct reply, so I'll just pause and say, this is interesting because I've talked to you about, You have the wedding workshop, and this is a reason why. Within 24 hours, and I tell the couple to hold myself to it, often within the same half hour, I say goodbye to them. And with Officiantly, this is super easy because you just generate the script and then do a little, make sure, scroll up, use the AI built-in feature for targeted spots if you need to. But then you just send it off to them, and it's done. And they do have the script a month out. So this is interesting that, they're saying this. Because that's the way it should happen. Instead of a direct reply, I got an automated message a few days later saying the script was ready. So again, this is from, I don't know what the platform is here, an automated reply. When I went to review it, it was obviously just our survey responses fed into ChatGPT. So this is the entire ceremony, right? Lots of common indicators of fluffy text that didn't mean anything. Again, like, people do not want to see platitudes. I've said this over and over. If you're a member of Unboring Wedding Academy, you know that, like, this is anathema to what I think. Like, you just say a bunch of words that, like, mean nothing. This bride's really putting her finger on what makes weddings difficult to begin with. But then when it's AI doing it, oh my gosh, she just said, and I like how she said, I'm a huge advocate for the M dash. Which is a tell for AI. I always tell AI when I use it, no M dashes. This was just super blatant and not how normal people write. Luckily, we're writing our own vows, so the most important aspect will be true to us. Interesting how she considers her vows to be the most important aspect. We have the ability to edit the script, though this is more work for us now, but I'm really frustrated that such an important vendor would cut corners this way. Such an important vendor. That's really important. Like, the fact that this wedding couple, wedding officiants and celebrants, are always saying, we're important, we're worth it. And she felt this way. This couple felt this way. But I'm strongly opposed to AI in general. So this is a disappointing misalignment of values on such an important occasion. If I could go back, I would have asked about AI when we met and asked for it to be in our contract that it not be used. Too late now, but maybe others who feel similarly can learn from my mistake. So that is, again, a cautionary tale that sent a chill through my spine, because obviously this is a real abuse of AI. Like, when she's like, if you feed something into ChatGPT and everyone can tell it's written by ChatGPT, then it's really bad. Especially, like, I'm not hearing love story there or anything. I'm just hearing, like, the elements. And it's really, really important too. That's why, like, in Officiantly, that ceremony template that I've built in is handcrafted. It's something I wrote years ago and I use over and over, and it sounds natural. It sounds like a human being. It sounds like me, and it's what I recommend to everybody on their first time. And then, as was mentioned earlier, if you're doing a spring cleaning and you're rewriting your script, take some time. Make sure it sounds like you if you want to refresh the language. Now, the Love Story Caster, of course, has that built-in recipe, but it is a huge recipe, and I actually shared it at Wedding MBA. It's like 4 pages long that I have fed into ChatGPT. Yes, the OpenAI interface, the API that powers the Love Story Caster. But it was about 100 hours of honing and honing and honing and honing to make sure it did not sound like crap, which is what she is saying. So it's interesting there. It raised a couple of things. She wanted written in the contract that you will not use AI. And that to me is like, okay, that would be interesting if somebody forced my hand on that. But I just wanted to say, hey, this could come up for you. If it came up for me, I would say, well, I use a specialized tool that does incorporate AI, but it's not the standard ChatGPT. It is a highly developed recipe for crafting your ceremony. So I would just say, like, I use a platform called Officiantly that does integrate the possibility for AI, but it's 100% about you and curated. And I am highly sensitive, this is what you could say, to when something I'm not running something through ChatGPT or Claude or whatever it is. I am crafting your ceremony. And you could even say, yeah, I don't know if you want to, but even after using Officiantly and the Love Story Caster, I always say, run it through the 10-point rubric that is in Unboring Wedding Academy. That's how you never fail. There is like, I have a 10-point checklist that you check whether you handwrite the story, whether it's AI, and AI is going to violate it up, down, left, and right when you compare it with my 10-point criteria for a no-fail guaranteed love story. That is something that you definitely want to deploy so you don't get this kind of thing. So I'm not one to like bash wedding officiants. I don't like doing that. I know there's sort of like a grief or disaster porn in terms of wedding ceremonies. Am I officiant? And there's a lot of drama online. But when I saw that, I just thought, oh, this is really relevant in terms of like, I've been arguing about this. Don't use AI. And I am noticing like my sales are down, and people I think are willing to spend less time taking a course to learn the best way. We're outsourcing things to AI that should never be outsourced. AI is like a tool in your hand if you know how to use it, a paintbrush or a hammer or that kind of thing, a sculpting tool. But if you just, I don't know, throw a battery in it, hit the on button and fling it into a room and expect it to do the renovations, it's not going to go well, right? So that's really the difference for me, is too many people are just trying to cut corners and save work with AI by expecting it to do quality writing, the things that can only be done with your really scrutinous trained eye. And I say trained whether you've done 10 weddings, 100 weddings, or it's your first one, and you are inside Unboring Wedding Academy, and you know the 10-point checklist and that kind of thing. So let's try to avoid making that mistake, making a marrier feel the way that person did, and not put our couples in a pickle. And we will continue to make couples absolutely thrilled with the performance we provide for them and their loved ones. All right. Let me see. I got a question from James. What's your live schedule? I still have Wednesday on my calendar from previous live. Oh, that's ancient. we are 19 weeks now into weekly wedding prep live on Thursdays. Last year, I kept having to miss a Wednesday because I am on the board of a nonprofit here in town that always met for a lunchtime meeting, and it's like a 2.5-hour board meeting every month. Then I just was like, okay, I don't want to keep missing one a month. So I moved it to Thursday. I got to say, I have been absolutely faithful to that schedule and plan to continue to be. So it is every Thursday at noon Eastern. Thank you for asking. Asking for it not to be used. Yeah, I use Mark's template as a guide recipe, but I change almost everything for each wedding I do. So there you go. You don't want things to everybody. I've talked about this before. I've griped about it. Like everything I read now, it's so obviously AI. Like AI has a sound, and a year in now of us reading AI generated content, we know what it sounds like. Human beings, we're savvy enough to know when something sounds the same. So yeah, not great. Oh, Sabrina is back. You did your thing. Welcome back. AI shouldn't be used to replace what you do. It should only enhance it. You're on fire today, Sherry. I really appreciate all your comments. You win the gold medal. I feel like I've been co-hosting with you today, Sherry, and I absolutely love it. How do you find wedding gigs? Comsy Monzi just throws that out there with 1 minute to go. First, you tell everyone in your network. First, you get trained. So you can look at previous lives. I'm so grateful you're here. Thank you for joining, and thanks for asking a question. In a nutshell, I'm trying to see if I can distill this because it's really important. How do you find wedding gigs? I've said it before, you get trained first. And I'm not just saying that because, of course, it's going to make it the best, but because when you get trained in something, then it makes it possible for you to tell people in your network, I have been trained in X. Can I help you out with said X? And I've talked about that trope before about like, you wouldn't get your friend to do your brain surgery, would you? And so that's meant to be like, don't get your friend to officiate your wedding. They're going to suck. Well, you would get your friend to do brain surgery if they were a trained brain surgeon, perhaps. Okay, let's not get into the ethics of it. My point is, you would get your friend to rewire your house as an electrician if they went to all the proper electrician school and had their own practice. So this is what I'm saying. get trained in how to officiate a fantastic wedding. Then you can tell people, and I happen to have a course for that, unboringweddingacademy.com. Once you're trained, you can tell everybody in your network, I've been trained, I really want to do this. And then you can get a couple of weddings that way, get reviews from those weddings, get photos from those weddings. And then you start to hit the bricks. You start to network in your area. Once you've done a couple, you can say, I'm a wedding officiant, not just an aspiring one. And you create a profile on Google My Business so that people can see pictures of you, maybe a couple reviews. I really recommend having social profiles at the very least, but I do offer a website service, unboringweddingacademy.com/website. Really quick for wedding officiants. It's $349 US. We get it up and running. You do some customizing, but it's you. You get your picture on there. You get your packages on there. And once you start networking and you have a little card to hand out and a rack card, you go around and you say, how can I recommend you? I want to learn everything I can about the wedding industry. You're going to find success as a wedding officiant when you're actually interested in your wedding vendor colleagues, when you're actually interested in the industry. Yes, it's an industry. I recently had somebody say to me, I had no idea weddings were an industry. It is billions of dollars of industry when the planners and the venues and the florists and the dressmakers and the suit makers and the officiants and all the things that go, DJs, right? So it's a huge industry, and there's all those people doing all that work right around you. You don't know it exists right now. Same way if you got into accounting. I don't think there's any accountants around here. Then you start looking into it. Oh my gosh, everybody and their second cousin's an accountant. So that's what would happen in the wedding officiant industry, wedding industry in general, but you start meeting other officiants and you start comparing notes. You really do. I teach this in Pro. Unboringweddingacademy.com/pro is my course about how to get clients, get booked, network with your fellow vendors, etc. It does take, like anything, you can sit back and wait for the phone to ring, or you can be proactive. And like I said, you start with the proactiveness in your own network. But in order to do that, you really should have that foundational training. You shouldn't say, I'm interested in officiating a wedding. Let me try it on you. You should say, I'm really trained in this. I'm really excited. I've taken a top-notch course and I know exactly how to do it. And then you can have like a pitch, which is kind of like what I say for the chem check, the booking call. Before I book any couple, I talk to them about the process. We're going to have a wedding workshop for 1 hour. Then I'm going to send you your script within 24 hours, not a month later. And then I'm going to send you a questionnaire and I'm going to write your, when you sound like you know what you're talking about, you probably do, and that's very attractive to couples. When you can rattle off, here's exactly the process I'm going to take you through, and I guarantee you're going to love it. And you can even do the crazy thing that I do and say, if you don't love it, I'm going to give all your money back. But for those first couple of weddings, you may not even charge. You might just say, I'm happy to officiate your wedding, but I'm going to need some photos. You'll want to talk to the photographer or maybe even get your own photographer. And can I get some reviews when it's over? Get that kind of guarantee. Okay, that was amazing. Thank you for your questions. Mark's not kidding. There really is a ton of help with the Unboring Wedding Academy to help us with generating ideas and finding clients, an excellent place to start. Yeah, Academy teaches you how to crush the ceremony, like I say. And then when you move on and take my pro course, that came out of Academy members way back in 2021, 2020, saying, well, how do we get clients now? That kind of question, momsy. And I said, well, I don't really teach that. And they said, well, you do it. And I said, yeah, I do it. Well, teach us how to do it. And so there was kind of like a, pitchforks and torches. And I'm so grateful for this community because we did our first couple of cohorts live, and then I built the course. And so many of you have found incredible success with it because it really is. It goes back to those fundamentals of being yourself, being trained, believing in yourself, and networking, and really, like I said, being curious and loving the wedding industry, loving the people who work in it, and really getting to know them. That's always going to serve you in the long term. This was so much fun. We are 6 minutes overtime. Thank you so much for joining today. Unboringweddingacademy.com is the ceremony course. Unboringweddingacademy.com/pro is the pro business course related to everything I just told Momsy. And it is a blueprint. When you get both courses, complete them both, you are eligible to be certified. Unboringwedding.com/certified. And I do want to give a shout out to Tamara Porterfield, who is our latest, just as of this week, person to do so. She is on our certified list. So congrats, unboringwedding.com/certified. And if you want to check out that software, that ceremony building software that I rave about and can't wait to use myself in every wedding this year, it is officiant.ly, efficiently. Thank you so much. Greetings from Venice. I'm glad you said hello as we were out the door here. Paul says efficiently really simplified the process. I did intend to talk about the wedding report, saying, hey, let's evaluate how much you charge per hour when you put all the work together. And I wanted to talk about then versus now versus efficiently. We're here every week. So I'm just going to bump that to next week. And I can't wait to see you again next week. Thanks, Frank Einstein. Push that like button before you leave. I couldn't have said it better, Sabrina. Glad you could pop in. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. If you're officiating this weekend, all the best to you. And until I see you next week at the same time on Thursday, not Wednesday, cheers and marry on. Have a good one.